Hey everyone, it's Elise. Welcome back to my channel. And today I just want to talk really quick about how I am not sure that real estate is a great investment option anymore, especially for people who live in South Florida. And I say that because I would say for the last 20 years, HGTV has infiltrated our homes and our minds and our hearts and made it seem like, oh, it's a great idea. People who have normal 9 to 5s somehow make a pivot and they live this fabulous life where they are flipping homes or becoming mom and pop landlords. They can quit their jobs and everything's wonderful. They work for themselves, they're their own boss, right? I wanted to be that person. I would say, if you asked me in my 20s, that was something that I wanted to do. But fast forward into real life, when you graduate school and you start your big boy or big girl job and you're making definitely more money than you've ever made, but maybe even more money than the average, you're thinking that's a possibility. But here in Florida specifically, because I live in a special state that is called Florida, that doesn't really apply. And I will say that because Florida, a good amount of the areas are higher expense living areas, and I live in South Florida where we are in that area. And I would say, especially after 2020, it just seemed like it's just not feasible for real estate specifically. And I'll get into more details. And from my viewpoint, the average price for a starter home is between $400,000 and $500,000. So if I'm looking into becoming like a landlord, that would mean that I have to put up 20% because it would be my second property. 20% is $80,000 to $100,000, and these are just for base homes. They're not even homes that are necessarily move-in ready or homes that you can sell that people would be able to live in and want to live in right away. You would still have to put additional work into it. Probably gonna have to put a roof on it. Probably gonna have to update the kitchens and the bathroom. So on top of that $100,000, you probably have to do another $100,000. Most people do not have $100,000 to $200,000, and I think that's missing when you watch HGTV. On top of that, you have to think about home insurance, and specifically in Florida, we're in a bad way. I've lived in my home for 5 years now, and I'm on my third insurance company, and it's not because I wanted to shop around and find a better price. It's because those two companies left me, and my broker let me know and helped me find insurance. And now I'm with the state-run insurance company, and that company was made just because people need to have insurance, especially if you have a mortgage on it. So the options to a lot of homeowners is either your insurance is going to go up, which I'm waiting for that. It's expected to go up 20%, or you may not be insured. And I can imagine the stress that has. So I haven't gotten the notice that I'm not going to be insured. That's probably because I'm with the last option possible, the state-run insurance company. But I found out in about 2 weeks how much it's going to go up. And for context, when I first moved here, my insurance for the whole year, I live in a condo, so it's different. My insurance for the whole year was $500, and 5 years later, it's $1,000. So that is double. Again, it's not a lot because it's a small unit compared to how they do the mapping. But it is not unusual to listen to the news or just talk to other Floridians who live in South Florida, and they'll tell you that their mortgage has gone up $800 to $1,000 per month. That isn't per year, that's per month. That is a drastic amount. So renters and homeowners have their own set of problems. Neither option is problem free. It's just which do you want to pick. So imagine being a landlord. The headache, it's not fun. I can't imagine it being fun. So you have to deal with that. And then what if you get tenants that aren't the best tenants? I imagine even if you had a series of good tenants, you only need one set of bad tenants to piss you off and make you never want to do it and want to sell your home, because not everybody takes care of things. Not everybody will take care of your property, and sometimes they can't pay rent, or they refuse to pay rent. Sometimes they refuse to leave, and on top of that, there's lawyers' fees and all that. I can't imagine. And another thing that I would want to do is I would want to keep the rent fair, because I imagine a lot of the rent down here from my friends who are renters, it's not fair. It's drastically inflated, and you can't tell me specifically that it's because you're not making money or barely making money. I don't believe that. But unfortunately, I would want to keep it fair, and it's going to be hard to keep it fair when everything is so expensive. And I personally, like how I run every business, or personally, like I tithe my money, so I have to take that into account. And I can imagine maybe if I was making a profit of $500, $400 a month cash flow, that would be reduced because I tithe, which is completely fine, but that means I can't do it right now. On the other hand, I could try to flip homes instead of being like a landlord. However, flipping to me in South Florida doesn't seem too advantageous as well, because flipping requires you to have even more cash on hand, which, because a lot of the homes that you buy to flip, they're like really nasty, and a lot of those really nasty homes you can't get a mortgage on. So you may, instead of doing 4 to 5, you may be able to find one from 3 to 4, but you have to have it in cash. Who has $300,000 to $400,000 in cash? Rich people, right? And so it does lend credence to that saying, you have to have money to make money. There's some credence to that, but most people do not have multiple hundreds of $1,000s available to them. And then on top of that, specifically to Florida, we're dealing with a lot of things. So we have the insurance crisis. We also have roofing issues. Like, a lot of homes can't get insurance on them if their roof is 10 years or older, because the lifeline of a roof is 20 years. If an insurance company sees that the home only has 10 years or less, they're like, we're not going to insure you. So you need to have, in your mind, you have to fix that roof ASAP. And a roof is about $20,000 down here in South Florida. We also have flooding. We haven't had any hurricanes so far, but in the spring, late spring, we had a really bad way with floods, where about 2 times in a month, the whole of South Florida felt like was flooded and cars got ruined. So and homes, a couple, every few years here, the homes here get flooded. And those homes tend to be more affordable to buy, but I can't imagine, like, what does that mean for an investor? How do you sell a home if it's in a flooded area? It just does not seem like it would be a tenable situation for someone, particularly me, who doesn't come from money, to try to get into. So for now, even though I really would have liked to delve into that industry, it is not tenable for me. And the goal, however, since I'm not going to be a flipper like Tarek and Christina, buying and flipping like I would like to, which would seem like the dream, even though they're in California, it's really expensive as well. They started 15, 20 years ago, it was more affordable. The goal for me right now is to have a house every 10 years. And I bought this house at 30, so I have 4 more years to try to get my life together to have something for 40 and beyond. And I think that's feasible, because that's given me some time. I would rather save $100,000 or $80,000 over 4 years than try to save $100,000 in 1 year. And I say that because saving a lot of money to either get into a business or maybe pay down debt, I've done that before, and it makes you unhappy because everything is tight and nothing goes to fun. And I am a little bit older now, and I like to go on vacation. I like to have a budget line for vacation. I like to have a budget line to go out to eat. I like to have a budget line to get ice cream. I like to drink wine. I like to enjoy life, right? And I can't do that if I'm holding so tight to a budget. But I see that the slow and steady method will allow me to slowly build wealth in real estate, but not hate my life in the process. So being that the first house is the hardest to get, just like the first $100,000 is the hardest to get, since I've got the first house, I can kind of relax and just continue the good financial behaviors that I have. And hopefully when I wake up at 40, God willing, I have something to go to some real estate agent, like, okay, what's out there? And if there's nothing out there, I will adjust and invest that money somewhere else. But I'm not gonna kill myself. So then by the 5th decade, I can get the 3rd house. By the 6th decade, I can get the 4th house, and then I'll be done. So at minimum, I'll have 4 doors. I may have more, but at minimum I'll have 4, and that'll keep me happy for now. I think having 4 doors by the time you retire that I can just use as cash flow to help with my retirement, I think that's more than anybody can ask for, especially my beginning story. Like, I'm not trying to compete with anybody. I'm just trying to have something for myself without killing myself. So yeah, that is why I think Florida probably isn't the best place to invest in real estate. Not saying that I will not do it, but I am not going to kill myself over it. And to anybody who does live in Florida, just think about the consequences of signing your name to a $30-year mortgage with all the potential headaches out here. Because honestly, we don't even know if Florida's going to be here in 30 years. I have my doubts. Drop down in the comments if you agree with me or disagree with me on anything that I talked about, or even if you think Florida's going to be here in 30 years. Because as much as I love Florida, I may go down with my ship. I don't know, because global warming is not playing with us, especially in the summer of 2023. Thank you guys for stopping by. I will see y'all next time, and enjoy the summer.